Afternoon again. My first name is Kim and my last name is Berlin. I'm from the office where Candace worked. I was her close friend for 12 years, 13 years. And it's my role to help us get through this time together. I have another workmate that's promised me that if I can't make it through, she'll give me a hand. Since our family today includes everyone, it's important to take this opportunity to acknowledge we are gathered on Treaty 7 land. We are here where the elbow meets the bow, a place called Mo Kinstis. This land is home to the Blackfoot Confederacy. It's also home to the Tsuut'ina First Nation and to the Stoney First Nation, as well as the people of the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. As a white settler on this land, I acknowledge the treaty relations that have not been honored by my ancestors. I support the work necessary to restore active, meaningful Indigenous, Black, and minority presence. These are requests that we would make of you because some of this is being live streamed. We would ask that you turn off your cellular device, and if there is a disturbance, may we ask you that you go to a quiet place. Because of the times we live in, we also ask that you continue to use the hand sanitizer and the masks that are provided. The washrooms are directly back out the door where you came in, near the elevators on the left-hand side, and the fire exits are in the same direction on the right. Who's here today? As I said, we have many people who are watching by live stream. Because of the times we live in, many people who had wanted to come were not able to come. So we have all of those people joining us. In person, we have many family members. We have partner Darren, son and daughter, Curtis and Kaia. We have Candace's father, stepmom, twin sister, brothers and their families, and many other relatives, and also many of her friends. She had many friends. The live stream includes some from the United States, including Chantal, who's a close friend from Florida, who Candace would not want me to forget, and friends and family from Europe. Some were not able to see her because of her situation and the current health situation, health crisis, and many could not come to this event for the same reason. We know how hard it is for you who cannot come to be alone now. So this is what to expect today. First, I'm going to talk for a few minutes about Candace, who she is and why she mattered so much to me. Then we'll hear from Kim, twin sister. Kaia is going to speak. Darren is going to speak through a video that he has put together for his partner. Curtis has gathered many pictures and of the happy times, and there were so many happy times in Candace's life, and Curtis will also speak. After that, it's going to be time for open mic, and Jonathan Nicholson has agreed to start us off with his thoughts and reflections regarding Candace. And at the end of the service, Candace's father will say a few words to leave with us as we end that part of the day. At the end of this part of the service, there will be some music played. Please allow the family members in the front row to have a chance to get up and to seat themselves before the rest of us leave to come behind them. At that time, the live stream will end, and the informal part of the afternoon will be starting. This is the part I think that Candace might have liked best. There will be drinks and food and a chance to gather in small groups to talk about our friend, our relative, and our close one. So here are the thoughts that I have to share. From a very young age, Candace came out of the box very fast. She was a single parent of 2 children, very young, and she struggled. She had times when she was truly poor. She wasn't sure where the next meal or the next rent payment would be coming from. She learned to work very hard. It was a work ethic she carried with her her entire life. She did all kinds of jobs to make ends meet. She got her legal assistance training after that. She was hired by a private firm and she got a little experience. We pause to think about the idea that most young women who start their lives in this way don't succeed. They fail, but Candace did not. She always wanted to work for the government. She credited Jonathan Nicholson with giving her a shot. He got the best part of that deal. We all water skied behind Candace and her energy for all the years that she worked with us after that time. In Texas, we call this the full tilt boogie. Candace lived life at a full tilt boogie. She was on the text, on the phone, on the computer, and talking to someone at the same time as she was driving her car. She went to court over and over again for her fast driving to fight tickets. She went to court for Curtis's tickets as well. I think the Crown prosecutors got tired of seeing her there. She didn't seem to be able to slow down. She was there when I got there, 12 or 13 years ago, and she scoped me out when I came in the front door. I came for my job interview, and she gave me the Candace Prokopchuk pre-screening. She looked at me, she asked me a few questions, and I think she thought I was okay. I immediately liked her, and she immediately liked me. She was a huge self-starter. So she started in a large office at the reception position. She moved from there into being an assistant. She moved from there, was promoted into a spot for a disclosure clerk, and she ended as being our office manager. They wanted her in Edmonton and would have had her in Edmonton if she would have been willing to move. There was virtually no end to her potential. She was a self-taught computer whiz. She took a computer apart, figured out how it worked, and later managed all the tech for 2 high-rise floors full of lawyers and assistants. It's no small task. She knew where everything was, how to do every job in the office, how everything worked. One of the things that was the most interesting about Candace is she had an excellent legal mind. She was just as good at reasoning out a problem most of the time as any lawyer I ever knew. She had the opportunity to go to the Hague Convention meeting. That's supposed to be reserved for lawyers. She's the only paralegal I knew that ever went to that meeting. She was as good as most, and they fell in love with her there just like everybody else did. They still ask after her now. But it wasn't all work for Candace and I. Her office was covered with pictures of her and her children, and her family, and her sister, and Gord Downey. What she thought of as really important was clear to see, and it wasn't work. I could hear her laugh when she was at work with Joan Minnie all around the office, the belly laugh of those girls. She always said what she thought. For better or worse, always said what she thought. She was intensely loyal once you were hers for good. We had dinners and wine, and we met as friends in the evening after work hours were done. We often went out to talk about the day, but more than that, we talked about our families, our people that we loved, our kids, who was having challenges, and we supported each other through a lot of hard times at those dinners out. She had big goals and she had big dreams. She never thought anything was impossible. She thought she could do anything. And mostly, she was right. She raised her kids to the point where they now are fully fledged adults and they're ready to be on their own. As soon as she got those ducklings fledged, she found Darren. She'd not prior taken up much with any guy because her time was spent on her kids and on work and on her family. But once the kids were launched, Darren came along and the timing was right. And he was so much fun for her. She so enjoyed life as a partner when she had been alone a long time. She adored him. Their time was shorter than it should have been, but they had it, and they took joy in it. She cared for her mother in her mother's old age, ensuring that her mother had the things that she needed to manage in her life. She lost her mom just about a year ago now and remained as close to her as she could. She took care of her dad and stepmom with their own health challenges. This family is big and rowdy and opinionated, just like Candace was. They fight and they love each other and they say their piece. And I know now where Candace got all that. She did this by the time she was 45. Things that were important about her remained the same to the end of her life. She loved fiercely. She had huge energy and caring. She was loyal. She was honest. And she was always the glue for people who worked with her and for her family as well. She died far too early at 45. She might have expected twice that, but she filled her time to bursting. She was able to raise her kids to independence, see them to the end of school and on to living lives on their own, have a career that she excelled in, find someone she cared about, and plan a second chapter. The life she had was a good, full, rich one, and not 1 minute was wasted. She loved Gord Downey and had his pictures on her wall. His music would blast through the walls when she got really busy, along with Bob Marley. Downey might have had her in mind when he wrote No Dress Rehearsal. This is our life. Please keep her family and close friends in your thoughts and your deeds for the next few difficult weeks and months so that we can lift them up together. And now perhaps we can hear from Kaia, who knows another facet of her mom that I do not.
Gotta sanitize. Thank you all for being here to celebrate my mom's life. My name is Kaia, and my biggest hope today is for this celebration to be healing. Sorry, am I too loud? I'm loud. Okay. Most of you may know my mom is hardworking, dedicated, self-made, and she is all those things and so much more. My mom had Curtis and I at very young ages, so as her kids, we had front row seats to the Candace show. We all grew up together, and one thing I noticed about my mom was that she had this intuition, an ability to understand you even when you didn't understand yourself. She was a healer. and she learned to heal herself as well as those around her. She taught me what it means to be a compassionate human being. She taught me how to navigate this world as a woman, how to develop a strong work ethic, how to believe in myself, and she taught me all of these things leading by example. My mom always has been and always will be my hero. Her greatest gift of all was her love. It enveloped you, and there was no conditions. No conditions. Her love could heal the deepest of wounds, and it is her love that we are blessed to feel today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day after that. A few days before she passed, I sat next to her hospital bed, my brother on the other side, and she asked me to write down some words, some thoughts of hers. I quickly started typing on my phone notes, and then I realized what I was writing. You know Candace, she wanted to give a shout out to all the people in her life. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to finish some parts of her message, but I hope that these words can be as healing for you as they have been for me. Some words from my mom. I've been watching the sun rise for the past couple of mornings from a hospital bed. It's absolutely breathtaking and beautiful, actually. I sit here for a couple of hours. It's like the dawn of a new day. I open my eyes and I realize that it's not a bad dream. I'm actually really happy. I'm so grateful and thankful for the people that have surrounded me with love and support, prayers, positive thoughts. I feel forever grateful. If I could pass a message or lesson on to anybody, it would be to take the time to enjoy sunrises and bask in the beauty of the planet. Worry less. Try and find happiness in each day. I would teach people to be kind to each other, treat everyone with dignity and respect and grace. Everyone in my life played a different role and taught me many different things. My biggest influence and hero has been my father. Even in times when he disagreed, I always respected his opinion. He's the most disciplined person I know, and that is definitely a trait I'm thankful for inheriting from my dad, what little discipline I do have. Always telling jokes. My stepmom, Mai, has been the rock of the family. She always acted as a buffer between dad and the kids. And I know that if dad said no, then I could go and ask Mai because she'd say yes to a popsicle for breakfast. Kim, I've had such a unique experience growing up with a twin sister. A lot of people have siblings, but a twin is much more than that. A twin is half of you. We were always two peas in a pod. It was never just Kim and Candace. It was the girls. We were inseparable. When she went to Toronto, I felt abandoned, but I got over it quickly because it wasn't long before she was back. She was always my closest confidant, and I'll always be there for you. The next big change in my life was Curtis. I had a best friend who became my partner, not just my child. Although we had some tough times and Curtis was rebellious, I always knew he was a courageous, special young man. I know you will succeed at whatever you put your mind to. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet. Along came a Kaia that sat down beside ya and changed your life in a big way. When Kaia was born, I had my shit together, and that's when I felt I could parent a little bit better. I became a more consistent parent, more disciplined, more organized. That's when we became a 3-person team. Everyone pitched in, always. Everyone knew Kaia was a special kid. Then I waited a very long time to meet the love of my life. He came into my life when I needed him the most. Darren has never been perfect, but he was always perfect for me. The thing I admire the most about him is his effort to be a good man in our relationship. It never went unseen. He carried some regret from his past relationships, but he always tried his best to be a better man for me. I can feel it. He's never stopped trying, and that's so important to me. That someone never stops trying. The single moms, the people who have the odds stacked against them, never stop trying. The experiences I had with Darren are some of the best in my life. There are things I dreamed of having, a partner to go camping or traveling with. I'm so grateful I got to experience those things with the love of my life. I've always been proud of the work I did at Alberta Justice. Landing that job was probably the proudest moment of my life and career because I always felt like I had the odds stacked against me. The people I met there taught me so much. I always loved my job and the work I did. My proudest moment was representing Alberta at the central meeting of the federal authorities touring the Supreme Court of Canada. Being selected was such an honor. Jonathan, I couldn't thank you enough for these opportunities. You saw something in me when no one else did. He looked past the fact that I was a teen mom, had a loud mouth, and was very stubborn. He always allowed me to be me. Kimberlyn has been my work mom. She puts me in check when I need it and has taught me so much about everything. Not just the law, but how to handle relationships, how to deal with challenges, parenting advice. She was my rock at work. There's obviously a lot of people who had a positive impact on my life, and I'm thankful for the people I worked with. I especially enjoyed building the long-term relationships over the years with my office managers from Edmonton, who I absolutely adore. Staff I worked with for 10 plus years. Chris Dilkey is the hardest shell to break, but once I broke in, I got to see a side of him that most people haven't. He taught me a lot, mostly about the law, and I'm still the only one in the office who has gotten a hug from him. That meant a lot to me. Wow, friends and family around the world, even people who have not met me prayed for me. I can't begin to explain how grateful I am. Aiden and Kyra, I have a soft spot for Aiden, and I see a lot of potential in Kyra, in both of you. I was happy to have you guys join my family. Tanya, Nigel, and the kids, I was also happy to have you join my family and to be welcomed into yours. Tanya, your committed support throughout this process means a lot to me. Alicia, Cher, my regulators, you always kept me grounded. To my friends, even the ones I don't talk to anymore, you guys each serve a purpose in my life. Nobody really knows what the end is like. Of course, the emotional pain is inevitable, and at least in my experience, when someone passes, it can be incredibly painful. If there were one wish or superpower that I could have, it would be to stop the pain. Physical pain, emotional pain, all of the above. I just don't like seeing people in pain. I feel very satisfied with how I lived my life. There was not much I would change, not even the hard times that taught hard lessons. And when I think of the happy times, some of my favorite memories were in the motorhome. The Missoula trip was amazing, and being front row at Pearl Jam with my family was definitely a highlight. We also got to experience Pemberton Music Festival too. I've never been to a festival of that size before, and I got to dance and laugh with my family until the sun set. So I hope you guys can find some peace and comfort knowing that my mom felt tremendous love and gratitude in her final days, and that her biggest wish was for the people around her to heal their pains. Tell your loved ones you love them. Don't take anything for granted. Allow yourself, give yourself permission to grow from your past mistakes. Mom just wanted all of us to be happy because that's all you leave. Thank you.
Miss Kaia, that was fabulous. So the next person we get to hear from is Kim. Do you want me to stay with you?
I think I'm going to be okay. I'll just maybe get Candace to channel some of her confidence and public speaking ability. Live for yourself, and you will live in vain. Live for others, and you will live again. I actually first started writing this tribute months ago when Candace first got her diagnosis, which happened to coincide with her engagement. It was originally intended to be something I wanted to read at her wedding. It was something positive to focus on during what was a troubling time. What has my sister been to me? Well, first we were womb mates, then playmates, and then also roommates. She was my partner in crime, my travel companion, and my co-pilot on many adventures. She was my go-to person and the one person I could always count on no matter what. She was my birthing coach and my farting doula, only some of you will get that, and even cut the cord when my daughter was born. At times she was my lawyer, and she was always listed as my emergency contact, but mostly importantly, she was my confidant and secret keeper. She was also my hero and someone I looked up to figuratively and literally. She's been my inspiration, my guidance counselor. She was my best friend, my twin sister, and truly my other half. We shared many things throughout our lives, like birthdays, taste in music, clothes, friends, and copious amounts of tequila. We've shared so many memories that it would literally take days and days to tell them all to you, but I will save them for the coming days and weeks and years, and I will share them with you as I try to carry on. One thing she taught me is how to be strong and supportive. So with that, I will bravely continue on in life to be there for her friends and family, most importantly our parents and her children. Candace entrusted me years ago to be the guardian of her children if anything had happened to her. So, Curtis and Kaia, even though you're grown and well on your way in life, I know I can never replace your mother, but I will do the best I can to fill the void that she has left in your life. I will be whatever you need in your life, whether it's a financial advisor, a wedding planner, or a grandmother for your children. My home is always your home. In the last 6 months have been filled with so much uncertainty, fear, and sadness. We've all tried tirelessly to stay on the road of hope, but in all that darkness, I was given a gift. I'm so grateful that I was given the opportunity to spend some real quality time with my sister in the last few months of her life. She was beyond brave. At times, we didn't even talk, we just laid together holding hands. But at times, we had deep and meaningful conversations. I had the opportunity to ask forgiveness for any time that I had acted selfishly. I had a chance to tell her over and over how much I loved her, and I was finally able to return all the support she had given me over the years. We enjoyed quiet breakfasts, reruns of Three's Companies, and the occasional Pimple Poppy video. That's her thing. It brought me so much pleasure doing simple things for her and being with her, like foot massages or even just brushing her hair. Obviously, I'm devastated and I'm full of fear, not knowing how I'll get through this life without her. But if there's anything she's taught me, is how to be brave, strong, and courageous. My entire life, I've been mistakenly called Candace. I'm scared I'll be a walking reminder of what's happened to her. But please, when you see me next, think of her not how she is, but rather how she was and how she lived her incredible life. A few days before she left us, I asked her if she believed in heaven. She said yes, and I asked her, do you think you will see Gord there? And she said, oh yeah, I'm gonna see Gord there. But I'll just leave the part out on what she said she would be doing with him. Sorry, Darren. Bad things happen to good people every day, and when it does, it shakes many people to the core, and the impact of it reaches far, wide, and deep. But in all this devastation, we are presented with important lessons. Life is precious, our time is here is not infinite, and each day is a gift. That's why it's called a present. In closing, I think it's important to mention this. Cancer is very serious, specifically melanoma. Candace isn't the only young, beautiful soul that I know that has lost her life to this awful disease. There are ways to lessen your risk, and I plan to make my life's mission to bring awareness to melanoma and save others from possibly having the same fate. Thank you.
So I think next we have a short video that was put together by Darren.
I thought it would be fitting to speak about Candace from what we all know as home. A sandbar and a low river where we would sit in our camping chairs and talk about anything and everything. On May 12, 2014, the day that started the most impactful journey of my life, with a woman whose personality was larger than life. And today's celebration is proof of that. Candace's energy and positive outlook on life changed me as a man. She taught me how to forgive, both myself and others. Candace showed me how to live every day with joy and no regrets. She offered everyone patience and allowed you to make mistakes as long as you put effort into correcting them. The things we loved most in our time together were our kids, family, traveling, and music. Our love of traveling provided us with so many valuable moments. And getting in the motorhome and going on an adventure was our favorite thing to do. Most of the time, just the two of us, but we're always grateful anytime our kids would want to join us. I drove most of the time, and she was my co-pilot. If there was any one thing that would cause friction, it was her knack for giving me the wrong directions. But we always made it to where we needed to be. From Missoula, Montana, to Wells Gray Provincial Park, and everywhere in between. Candace allowed me to encourage her to do things that were not always in her comfort zone. From riding her mountain bike to the base of Mount Robson, walking across the Lions Gate Bridge in Vancouver, and walking on the Skywalk in the Columbia ice fields. Throughout these adventures, I began documenting them with a selfie every chance I could. And in the next part of my tribute, you will get to see just a fraction of them, and you will see the joy the two of us enjoyed. For me, this is where it all began. Our first date, May 12th. Joey's in Eau Claire. We're seated at this, right behind this wall in a booth. I remember being led to our table. I had the opportunity to see what I was going to be seated with, and I liked what I saw. As we got seated, almost immediately we felt comfortable with each other. There was just something that was there that both of us recognized. And as the conversation started, it just was easy. And we talked about all of the things that were important to us. First and foremost, our kids. For her, Curtis and Kaia. For me, Aiden and Kyra. They meant the world and everything to us, and still do. We talked about our parents and her love for Norm, Barb, and mine for Archie and Sarah. Her sister Kim, my sister Tanya, her brothers, and obviously everybody that extends from that. Our love of music. She was as big a fan of the Tragically Hip as I am Pearl Jam. And for me to find somebody like that was truly amazing. I didn't think it existed. our love of camping and being in the outdoors. We checked off so many boxes that night. And it was important that we had those boxes checked. That was something that we were both looking for. When we left that night, she was parked over on the other side. I was parked in the parking lot. I walked her to her car. She gave me a ride back to mine. And in that moment, before I got out, I asked her if I could give her a kiss. And she did. She let me give her our first kiss. And I'll never forget that. From here, I'm gonna take us to where I first met the kids. And we'll get an opportunity to see the rest of the story. Here I am at the Citadel House. And this is where I had the opportunity to meet both Curtis and Kaia. Curtis and Kaia welcomed me into their home and treated me like family. And we had so many good times in this house. We grew as a family, and I think the bond between all of us just strengthened every day since then, and especially until we ended up moving out of this and Candace and I getting our own place. The next place I'm gonna take us to will be where I was able to introduce my kids to Candace. Here I am at the restaurant, Open Sesame, which was the first opportunity that I had to introduce Candace to my kids, Aiden and Kyra. Remember the day very, very vividly. It's a special day for me to introduce her to them. We had a great time. We laughed, mostly at my expense. And it was the beginning of the bond between Kyra, Aiden, and Candace, and essentially our entire family. And much like we did in the Citadel house, that bond grew every day since. So the next place that I'm going to take us to is our first camping trip. Here I am at the site of our very first camp trip to Jack Lakeside out in Banff. Candace asked me if I wanted to go camping, and obviously it was a conversation that we knew we both enjoyed camping, so I said yes. We were doing it in a tent because it's a tent-only site. And I had years of camping or glamping in an RV. Hadn't been in a tent for some time. When we got here, we started to set up and it started to rain. Candace asked me, "Do you want to bail and go home?" I said, "Not a chance." I could tell she wasn't quite convinced because she's had people in the past not want to go when it's raining and in a tent. We continued to set up, and as you can see, the location is phenomenal, and it ended up being our favorite camping trip of all time. Years later, Candace told me that she knew I was the one because I never once complained or was bothered by sleeping in a tent in the rain. And next, I'm going to take us to our last special moment. Here we are at the spot that I proposed to Candace. We were fortunate enough to be surrounded by those that we love, and she said yes. When we got the diagnosis, I knew it was something that I had to do, even though it was something that I had wanted to do for quite some time before that. But I felt that with having all the family together and in that moment, I thought it was the right time. So I showed you where we started. I've shown you what was important to us with our kids. And now I'm showing you where we finished off. I'm going to let the song that would have been our wedding song finish things off, and the pictures that go along with it will fill in the rest of the story.
fabulous, fabulous pictures of a very happy time. Curtis? Okay.
I'll also sanitize here a little bit so we can err on the side of caution. Thank you, Kim Berlin, for being a part of this. I know it's truly an honor to have you here. Kaia, I'm so very proud of you for telling Mom's message, and I think you did a great job of it. And Kim, I'm actually kind of surprised you didn't cry because you were telling me you were going to all week, so good job. For anyone that doesn't know, I'm Candace's son. I'm here today to tell our story. A story about a mother and a son. A story about a drill sergeant and cadet. But more than anything, it was a story about partners in crime, ride or die. Since a young age, I had a good handle on what Candace was going to say. Whether it was a burn in the carpet, or eventually as I grew older, started getting speeding tickets, most of the time, I knew the response. For my entire life, she's been my personal advisor. I think she was a personal advisor for a lot of us. And if you ask anybody in this room or here live watching, she was pretty damn good at it. She always had the best advice. In the last 5 years, I almost knew exactly what her response would be. Not only did I know the response, but I could hear her voice in my head. Of course, I would be the first to call and tell her anything, just so I could hear for myself. I am blessed to say that even in her death, that voice hasn't left me. She is still providing guidance and barking orders. Over the past few days and the years to come, I am going to be strong for her. Those were her direct orders. Kim had mentioned about 1 year ago our grandmother and her mother had passed away. It was a very emotional time for me, and I know my mother did not enjoy seeing me distraught. When we were leaving the funeral home on the day of her mother's funeral, she looked me in the eye as I was coming out of the building crying, and she looked me dead in the eye and said, "You better not cry this much at my funeral." That's where I'm going to pull my strength from today. Candace would want to see her people strong. She loved to see all of you smile. I have a full list of gifts that she gave me in my lifetime coming later in this speech, but I want to point out one of those gifts in particular, the gift of gab. Candace spoke at many weddings, funerals, life celebrations, and events. My sister Kaia mentioned how proud she was to get to speak professionally. No matter what the event was, though, she was very honored when someone asked her. At the more personal events, she would usually start her speech with a bit of a disclaimer, and I'm going to do the same today. I'm going to try and get through this without any tears. Candace often spoke about death early in our childhoods, the songs that were to be played, the donations for charity instead of flowers, what she wanted us to do if we ever had to continue on without her. I don't know if other families speak this openly about death as much as we did, but it has made this process a little easier. Those conversations changed in the last 6 months and became a little more serious. Candace and I attended many different funerals and life celebrations together. Often on the ride home, we would discuss how they compared into our visions. She wanted a celebration of life, not a funeral disguised as one. We also had the honor of planning and taking part in some of our close families and friends' funerals and life celebrations. Some of those people are in attendance today. The tragic deaths of both Callan and Fox, 2 young people taken way before their time. The video tributes we did for Yo Willie, Chantel's uncle, Fox, Callan, and my grandmother. It was a pleasure. So when our mother's spirit left her body, I knew exactly what the marching orders were. So I started to go through the hard drives that she had left for us. I found a lot. I promise her not to air any dirty laundry. I've been writing this speech for about 5 days while helping plan this event. At one point, I was thinking of the best words to describe my mother. And after looking through those hard drives, the first words I would use to describe her are as follows: selfless, helpful, and the greatest friend anyone could ask for. The reason why the hard drives made me think of these words first: she was helping anyone she could with any type of document or legal matters. She was writing resumes, cover letters, court documents, anything she could help someone out with, Candace would do it. And she did this for a good amount of the people in the room today and watching home at the live stream. She stood up for injustices, and she was very outspoken. Here's some more words that I'd like to use to describe her. Single parent, teen mom. There were so many stigmas that came with being a young single parent. She always proved anyone wrong that doubted her. She never once felt bad for herself or her family. She never blamed anyone for her situation. But instead, she always made the best of it. She was always working to better our situation throughout all of her hard work. And actually, her start in law was all self-taught during this period. Strong. She never declined a challenge. She never backed down from anyone, especially when she was protecting us, her friends and family. Unconditionally loving, courageous, and motivating. My mom never gave up on me no matter what. No matter how many principal's offices I ended up in, she was always there to support me. She always encouraged me to do better. She saw the potential in me that no one else could, not even myself. I think Kaia and I got a little different styles of parenting from our mom, because in my eyes, she was mom's dream child. I mean, she never stole the car or did any of the crazy stuff I did. I feel I may have gotten a little more attention from her at times, but that was only because I needed a little more help to get to where I am at in my life at this point. Without Candace, I would not be the man I am today. She was a hardworking, badass hustler. She always made sure Kaia and I had everything we could ever ask for. I know it's been mentioned, but when we were younger, she often worked multiple jobs and would do anything she could do to make ends meet. She made miracles happen. And although we did have a lot of help along the way, she used that help and she worked her way to the top and reached her goals. While being a single parent, she was still able to provide everything to her kids and that her family needed, all while touching and helping so many other friends. Candace liked to touch people. It's an accomplishment I want her to be especially remembered by. I don't know how she ever did it, but I admire her the most for this. Graceful. Candace, everything Candace did, she did gracefully, even if it was an ass chewing. And all these beautiful words we use to describe Candace are her gifts she leaves to her children, her family, and her friends. I want to go through just a few of my favorite memories of growing up and spending time with Candace. For anyone that remembers, Candace at one point in time had a white Topaz with a V6, and it was a manual transmission. And I think some of my greatest memories, we used to go for lots of drives and play music, and that was kind of her thing. But once in a while, we'd pull up to the stoplight, and someone would pull up next to her. She would slowly look over and start getting her gear shifter ready. And she'd look at me and she'd say, "Watch this." She won most of the time. Something that I also really enjoyed doing with both my mom and the rest of the family were dancing and going to concerts. We went to many concerts, many live events, and those are memories that I'll cherish forever. Her Sunday morning live performances while cleaning the house. Candace sang many songs to us. She often embodied everything when she was doing her performances, and those are something that I'll miss. Camping when I was younger, I really enjoyed. Obviously, in the later years, I've changed a bit, and it would be more like, oh, you guys are at that campground? Well, there's a hotel nearby, so if I can come by and visit later, that'll be fine. But she was still glad and happy to have me there. Some of her most used sayings. Whenever I was acting crazy, or anyone else for that fact, she would often look at us and say, "Pump the brakes." We will continue to do so. Whenever I was feeling down or being hard on myself, she would look me in the eyes and say, "Chin up, soldier." When someone was causing trouble, she would look at them and say, "Don't poke the dragon." And when Candace heard something that she didn't believe at all, it was usually followed up with a, "Uh-huh." Something else that Candace said to me a lot, "Another speeding ticket?" But it was usually followed up by, "When's the court date?" Most importantly, the one thing she said to both me and Kaia and her family the most, "I love you." She complimented me more than anyone, and she gave me the confidence that I have today. But on the flip side, when someone else would give me a compliment, she'd often follow up by saying, now, don't go swelling up his ego." So most importantly, my mother kept me and our family humble, and she will continue to do so, and we are thankful for her blessings. Candace and I had a relationship that not many people understood. We were so incredibly close. No matter what, we always had each other. As most of you know, I lived in her basement until my early 20s. Candace often referred to our relationship as a codependent one. She was right. We would do anything for each other in order to survive, ride or die until the end. For a while there, I'm sure everyone thought I was going to live with Candace forever. We were often told that we fought like an old married couple. I'm sure many people did not understand this relationship, but Darren did. Thank you, Darren, for coming into her life. Candace meeting you pushed me to start my own life, and I finally realized maybe you can't live with your mother forever. I was so glad she found someone she enjoyed being with so much, and she felt very loved. I thank you for that. Our families have blended nicely together over the years, and we love you all. I've had a lot of questions about the last 6 months and people reaching out with concern, and I just want to give a brief overview so we can speak some peace on our last journey. Candace was originally diagnosed with melanoma over 2 years ago. She had surgery and routine checkups, and throughout the process, we stayed quite quiet. We thought we were out of the woods. We also stayed quiet during this most recent diagnosis. February 2020, our new diagnosis, stage 4. In typical Candace fashion, when something in her life pointed a gun at her, she found a bigger gun and pointed it back. She never gave up her fighting spirit. Candace often referred to her caregivers at home as the all-star team standing behind her ride or dies. Shortly after the second diagnosis, we got hit with COVID-19. The restrictions made it even more difficult for us to take care of her and ensure her safety. I want to give a special thanks to Joan, Kim, Berlin, so there's no confusion with the twin, Jonathan and Tanya. Whether it was trips to the Red Cross to pick up equipment, whether it was Costco runs, whether it was bringing over cooked meals, these people were essential in keeping our heads level and keeping our mission complete. Thank you to everyone that supported from a distance. I know my sister has already touched on this, but everyone that was sending message and prayer, she felt so very blessed. It was an absolute honor for all of us to be able to help her in any way we could over the last 6 months. She always kept her gracefulness, wit, and humor right till the very end. I am so thankful for all the time that we got to spend together and the conversations we had in the last 6 months. I was also thankful while taking care of her, I was able to start a new chapter in my career and obtain my real estate license. This is something that I wanted to share with her. I am so happy she was a part of it. She was so proud. In the last few days, she spoke her final message, which my sister has already shared. I think I had already mentioned when my grandmother died, I vowed not to do another slideshow for someone so close to me. But in the last few days, she explained how much she loved the videos I had made for our families and friends. So she asked me if I could do one last slideshow. She already knew the answer. She requested 5 songs, which was longer than usual. Her exact words were, give them 5 songs and bore them. I got a little bit of a laugh out of that. The hardest thing I have ever done as a man was saying goodbye on the day she left us. It has matured me in a way that I never thought imaginable. But she was at peace knowing that we knew exactly what she wanted to happen in the days, months, and years to come. She was surrounded by love. Candace was also so proud of the one she loved. She was our biggest fan, our best promoter. She was always the first to help us achieve our goals. For the people watching the live stream, we're going to have something come along the bottom there, and you're going to see a little bit of information and social media handles. And I know this is what Candace would want me to say. Candace would want everyone in attendance and watching at home that ever needs a well-versed model, actress, or molecular biochemist to connect with Kaia on Instagram. KAAY_Coleman. Candace would also want anyone here or watching live that lives in the Alberta area that is looking for a good realtor. They should reach out to me on my social media accounts listed below. Candace Prokopchuk on Facebook and Instagram. Darren is also starting to gain some popularity on Twitter, and I know Candace would love if everyone checked him out and the stories he has to tell. Darren's Twitter handle is DJM Reborn. I'd like to ask my grandfather to come up here because we're going to talk a little bit about the memorial fund that we set up for my mother, and then we can go into the rest of my speech. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you for everyone that has donated thus far. As of last night, we had 94 donors with over $12,000 raised. That surpassed our goal, which was originally $5,000. Our family has a plan on founding a non-for-profit organization in her name, which we will volunteer our time to. This will be done with our own time and money so that all the funds that were raised can go directly to the people in need. We want to do this in her name and keep this in her honor. Last and most importantly, if you want to stay updated about the Candace Prokopchuk Memorial Fund, then you should follow all 3 of us, and we will give you updates for when that benefit will become available to the public.
Good afternoon. I'm the only one that's doing this, right? I'm failing you guys. But just to make sure that Candace's dream lives on and on and on, the generosity from the people that donated to this fund was unpredictable. I think when Curtis came to me with a bit of an idea what was going down, and he says, what do you think we should put the amount at? And I said, well, let's just swag a number and let's see what $5,000 done. Well, I see on this thing here, we're at $12,000. And I think as myself, our family, I think we would go ahead and match dollar for dollar on what everybody donated. We'll take this thing to another level and make sure that her dreams and the money goes to the people and the places it needs to. And I'm sure that Curtis has got a plan together, because it's not that there hasn't been many plans here. I'm not sure where these guys are getting it from, but I'm very grateful to have this type of, I'm going to do a DNA test, I think.
Thanks. Just to touch on that, this whole event and the GoFundMe, it's been a real team effort. So I thank Kaia, Darren, Kim, Evan, and all the people that were involved in kind of getting this thing running. I have some more people to thank before I end my speech. Norm and Mai, thank you guys so much. This wouldn't be possible without you guys, and I'm very fortunate to have you in our lives right now. Having you in my life has made this that much easier. Thank you to all of the venue staff. Thank you to the live streamers, all of our tech and AV, and all the decorators. This is beautiful. I think this really does Candace justice. She would be proud. She is proud. See, there's that voice again. I'd also like to thank another person, Darren Kaminsky. All these beautiful posters and the pamphlets you're holding in your hands were designed by her. And working with us in the last 5 days has probably been pretty stressful because we tried to get a lot done in the shortest amount of time possible. So Darren Kaminsky, thank you for designing and making sure these things get printed and look beautiful. I know Candace would be proud. Thank you to everyone that's reached out to us in the last week and has offered to bring food and support to our family. At that time, we did have a lot of people around, but in the weeks to come, please feel free to reach back out and we will take that help. This is the end of my story. I've said my piece. I love you, Mom. Please enjoy the slideshow. For the viewers at home, we have encountered some YouTube copyright policy issues, so the stream will be momentarily paused until the service is resumed. Please stand by as we will be returning and the service will continue. A download link will be provided in the description of the live stream as well as is on my Facebook, so you can download this slideshow I put together for us and enjoy it in your house. So, without any further ado, your favorites.
What a series of fabulous pictures and what a wonderful life. So this is going to be the open mic section of our program, and Mr. Nicholson, I understand, is going to lead us off. And at the end, Norman Prokopchuk has a few words to say to close us out. And after that time, we're going to go over for the informal portion, and we're going to allow the family to leave first, please.
I first met Candace over a decade ago when she attended our office for an interview. She entered the room like it was a storm blowing in. And I looked at this woman and I thought, uh-oh. I knew right then and there that this was a woman to be reckoned with. What I did not then know was how important was she to become in my life. She was applying for the position of a legal secretary, or otherwise known as administrative support. She was not a successful candidate, but was offered an alternative position as the receptionist in our office. She quickly demonstrated her extensive abilities, and accordingly, she soon moved from being the receptionist to that of a legal secretary. She was bright, competent, and exhibited a strong, burning desire to learn. She became well respected by the support staff and the lawyers. In fact, those lawyers she worked for felt very blessed to have her assistance. Those that did not were somewhat jealous. Over time, I witnessed her development and the positive relationship she fostered with the members of our team, the clients, counsel in the private sector, and members of the judiciary, all of which proved to be such a benefit to our office. When my previous assistant moved to Edmonton, there were a number of applicants for that position, some of whom were extremely well qualified. Candace also applied. After the interviews had concluded, the panel members considered the respective merits of the candidates. Some preferred other candidates. I, however, was swayed by Candace's potential and her overwhelming desire to succeed. She was my choice, and I have never regretted it. We worked well over the years and became so very, very close. The first thing I would hear when I came to work as I was entering my office was, "Good morning, boss." And she'd be there with that bright, wonderful smile of hers. We would then discuss in my office the issues that had to be dealt with, decisions that had to be made, and other concerns. After that, we would often move into discussing more personal matters. She had some very interesting things to tell me about, some very humorous, sometimes including her sister Kim. And she flavored them all with that wicked sense of humor she had. I can recall one occasion when she'd been talking to Kim on the phone and told her about a discussion she and I had had. Kim apparently was mortified and said, "You told him that?" And she said, "Yes, I tell him everything." It's all right, Kim, your secrets are safe with me. Well, maybe. We trusted each other, and we could tell anything to each other. As mentioned, some initially questioned my decision to appoint Candace as my assistant and the office manager. However, it wasn't long before her worth became known, not only in our office, but outside our office, with private law firms and other ministry departments, particularly in Edmonton. Well, this kind of concerned me. I thought it was somewhat ironic. Some people wondered why I chose her over other good candidates, and now they're trying to poach her away from me. But I would not stand in her way or try to dissuade her. It was her choice, and she was on that never-ending quest to improve herself and to become better and better. Fortunately for me and the whole office, she chose to stay with us. She once said to me, "I want to thank you for believing in me when so many others didn't." I did believe in her from the onset. And, as previously mentioned, one of the functions our office dealt with for Alberta Justice were matters pursuant to the International Child Abduction Act, otherwise known as the Hague Convention. I, with Candace's able assistance, handled these matters in our office, and we worked hand in hand. And each province and the federal government has a designate known as the central authority or the representative of the central authority under that legislation. And I was the designate in our office, and every now and again, every few years, all the representatives from the provinces and the federal government would meet in Ottawa to discuss current case conditions, matters coming out of the central position for the Hague Convention in The Hague in the Netherlands. There came a time when I was unable to attend one of these conferences in Ottawa. The usual procedure is, if you can't attend, you select one of your lawyers as the alternate to stand in your stead. I didn't select one of our lawyers. I chose Candace to go in my stead and sit at the table with the others in Ottawa as the representative for the province of Alberta. This hadn't been done before, and it was precedent-setting. But I had no concerns. I had complete confidence in Candace, and she did so well. On more than one occasion after that, she expressed her appreciation to me for choosing her. And I came to realize that this had been a defining moment in her life. For this young woman, this young teen mother, a single parent who faced so many challenges, struggles, and adversity throughout her life, who never lost her determination, her faith, and her devotion to her family. For her, when she was down there sitting at that table on behalf of this province, she knew and realized how very far she had come. And that's why, as previously mentioned, she said that was such an important milestone in her life. She did so very well, and everyone knew it. I loved her dearly, and still do. We had that special relationship. There were many through the time we had together who were moved to comment that she was like my daughter. like my own daughter. And she was. Someone once said that we meet so many people during our lifetime, but there are those special few who leave their footprints on your heart. Candace's footprints are all over my heart. She had many ambitions. She realized many, but she left us too soon, and many remained unfulfilled. She dearly wanted to have that campground in British Columbia, and she was on the eve of taking a step towards that. Her and Darren, her great love, were ready to take the motorhome and tour BC and look for a spot. And I was looking forward to her doing that, because we often talked about, the future, about us and our relationship down the years. And we thought about her having that campground, and I'd be able to come out and ride my Harley out there and spend time on her campground with her, maybe take her for a ride in the Harley. But as I say, she left us too soon. This wonderful, vibrant, talented woman. And I know that wherever she may be, she's probably there schmoozing with Bob Marley and Gord Downey. And I have no doubt that she's saving me a place wherever she is. I miss you so much.
Does anyone else want to come up and say a few words about their experience with this lovely woman?
I'm only Jonathan's wife.
Sorry, forgot about COVID.
Yeah, he's losing his memory. It's about time he retired. Candace means a great deal to both of us. I want to tell you something that perhaps you didn't know. I believe that Jonathan is here today because Candace saved his life. She meant a great deal to both of us. And I'll always remember the day that she phoned me at work and said that she'd taken him to the hospital because he'd had a heart attack on the way to work. Needless to say, he didn't go to the hospital by himself. He waited and went to work, and then Candace said, "Get him to the hospital." We had to keep an eye on him. I wish we'd been there to keep an eye on Candace too, but I believe that the Lord needed her because she was a great influence on the people around her. I know of her love because you always love the people you serve, and Candace served everybody. I am so grateful to her. I am so grateful to the people that she served and the great heart that she developed because of it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. or good evening, depending where you are in the world. There's a lot of things that probably could be said, but I'm not going to break the golden rule because I promised there's 3 or 4 of us that I would not try and get emotional over this. We all know that this thing is out of sequence. This is not supposed to happen in this order. This is just totally unfair. You know, we have a daughter that's 45 years old and kind of went through a lot of difficulties and shared some of those difficulties and showed us an extreme amount of courage, which is something I have to do now. To start with, on behalf, and I think Curtis, and we'll talk to that, and Kaia, Darren, and Kimberly, we'll talk a little bit up, but I just want to repeat to the people that are listening, to the people that are here, that the amount of response and people that tried to share or comfort us in the best way possible was incredible. I just didn't know we had so many good friends and family to help us through these times, and it's very much appreciated. Maybe I should take the paper clip off. Candace's biggest accomplishments, and I think that proved itself out here today, was raising 2 kids. And I really can't talk too much about it because I'll get emotional. Totally. You guys nailed it. You know what I mean? I sat here and I watched you and I watched you present and I watched you talk to the people and everything else. And as I joked earlier, maybe if I could somehow find part of this, I'm very, very grateful. You guys are totally amazing. There's just no question about it. And I'm sure she's proud of what she's done and made from where she came from. One thing and there was a lot of good things mentioned. One thing that really comes to mind about Candace is she didn't go around problems. She hit him straight on, and I think Curtis touched on that, and Kaia touched on that, but she never went around the problem. She went straight through it. So that was we talked about I think we were going to mention that. I was going to talk to it, but I think Curtis did a good job and talked to the fund that we're raising. Again, I want to thank all the people that contributed to it, and we'll try and make sure and not let this thing die in any way, shape, or form. So we'll carry the message on. We lost Candace. We lost Candace too early, and she tried everything she could to make it easier for us, to take some of the pain away. You know, the last few days in the hospital, I know she'd fake her health to me because she knew it was upsetting, and all the things that she would do to make sure that we wouldn't upset Papa. You know, we would, she says, "What time are you back in the morning?" And I said, "I'll be here at 8. So I'd walk in at 8 o'clock in the morning, or 2 minutes past 8, and she said, "You're 2 minutes late." And I said, "I'll do better tomorrow." You know. One other little story, you know, Darren, we really appreciate everything you've done for our daughter. You went over and above the normal call of duty. You know, I watched it and I seen it and I felt it, and I really appreciate it, and so do we all. I think that you know what you did and you know how well you did it. So I'm very grateful for that. I know the last few days, or maybe even on the last day, Darren and I were in the room with Candace, and they had to administer some drugs and to keep her comfortable, if you would. And they were using a lot of words, big words like marmalade and things that had a lot of vowels in them. And I got some of it, but nowhere near. And I said to Darren, "Darren, have you got that?" And he said, "You betcha." And Candace, in her sleepy old way, rolled her eyes back up and looked at him and said, "No, he doesn't." So that was Candace. She had humor to the 11th hour, and we're very grateful for everything that you've done. We love her dearly. I love her, and we'll continue to love her. And I got a text from somebody, and I think I'm going to use this. I got a text from somebody, and we got a lot of them, but I use them. He said, Norm, if there's anything that we got out or you got out of this is you have your own private angel. I'm in. This is it. I got one. Not sure that this was the right way to do it, but this is how it all ended up. Again, Kaia, Curtis, Darren, Kimberly, and Kimberlyn. That's kind of confusing. That's kind of a bit of a tongue twister. You guys are amazing. You guys nailed it. If there was a way, and I'm not very fond of the word celebration or the words of celebration of life, I'm not sure, maybe it's just because of my vintage, but you guys nailed it. You guys are beyond anything that I would ever expect from anybody. Thank you very much, and thank you for everybody that came here and the ones that listened in television land and everything that we've done. I'm also grateful, and I never cried. Thanks very much. You can maybe, I'm supposed to thank the venue people and
The family would like me to pass on their thanks to all the folks at the venue and all of the people who have assisted in live streaming, because people couldn't have attended that wanted so much to be with the family today, and they've been able to do that virtually because you were helping. Thank you for that. Please keep the family in your thoughts and in your prayers over the next weeks and months so that we can help these folks up and help them carry on. And now I think the family is going to lead us out, and the rest of us are going to wait here until the family leaves, and then we're going to have some time where we can sit and have a casual drink and enjoy.
thanks very much.
You betcha. You did good.
It's hard not yet. You start saying something nice, and then
Me too.